Differentiating the best out of the best. That isn't that easy as we think. Which koi will become Tategoi and which ones will be Tateshita? For breeders it is key to keep selecting their koi. Only the very best koi will be kept for longer periods of time. For breeders this is seen as an investment for the future. It determines the potential revenue of the koi farm in the next couple of years. And hence it is a really important process for them. And for breeders that also means they have to select their best koi every time over and over again. We are here not talking about the selection of baby koi or really young koi. We are talking about koi that are already selected multiple times and were good enough during the last year and also survived the first year outside in the mud pound. After that first year in the mud pound, when it becomes autumn again, the koi are taken indoor again to provide them better conditions during the winter time. During that time, for many breeders, the very best koi out of all the koi that are taken indoors are selected and taken apart into a heated environment. This heated environment will help the breeder and of course the koi in increasing the growth rate also during the winter. And now you really have to imagine that most of these koi are really high standard and are of very high quality already. But now, at the end of the winter, it is time for the breeder to determine which koi he will be keeping for a longer period of time. And which koi he will say goodbye to and sell them to potential customers, which are usually koi dealers and shops all around the world that visit Japan for their new stockings during the winter. So that moment is the time for the breeder to differentiate between Tategoi and Tateshita. It is the selection of the very best koi. For the breeder, that is actually a crucial moment. Because most breeders simply do not have sufficient space in their outside growing ponds. So there is a limited capacity for koi in each mud pond. And that limited capacity ensures higher growth rates and it makes sure that the best koi can gain the most length and develop themselves as good as possible during the upcoming summer. The ones that will be kept by the breeder are the Tategoi. The breeder believes that these koi have the highest potential and basically are the favorite koi for the breeder. He typically doesn't want to sell them, because he really sees a lot of potential in them and predicts that in the future these koi will develop very well into beautiful Nishi koi. And Tategoi actually literally means koi for the future. Which of course makes a lot of sense, since for the breeder the Tategoi are like an investment for the future. He can sell these great quality koi today, but why would he sell them today if he knows that most likely he can sell them for a much higher price the year after or even multiple years later, just by letting it grow in the mud pounds and taking good care of it. So real Tategoi are not for sale, or at least not for normal acceptable prices. The ones left are the Tateshita, or better said, how it is pronounced in Japan, the Tateshita. These are the koi that the breeder is not going to grow for an extra year. Of course, these koi are also of exceptional high quality, but for the breeder just not good enough to keep them for an extra year. The koi will be sold by the breeder to dealers, agents and shops all around the world. Now maybe you would ask me, is it possible that you can buy a Tategoi? At least for what I know here in Europe is that a lot of koi shops promote some of their koi as Tategoi. And usually these are of course of a high quality. A lot of them are Tosai, which are koi in their first year. But myself I do not really agree with the term Tategoi that is used here by some shops. Simply because a Tategoi would have been kept by the breeder itself to grow it larger. Remember that Tategoi means koi for the future. So I would say that all these koi that are sold as Tategoi are actually Tateshita, which of course is also most likely. And I also wonder how you think of this. Do you believe that we can buy Tategoi at koi shops? Or do you also believe that these usually are the Tateshita, which of course still are a very high quality koi, but in the eyes of the breeder just not good enough to grow them up for 1 extra year in their outside ponds? Let me know that in the comments and let's have a discussion together. It is great that you have watched this video till so far. Probably you have enjoyed this video, so why not let me know in the comments. I also hope that you will subscribe to this YouTube channel to support and of course will also get notifications when new videos come online. I would like to thank you for watching for now, and of course I hope to see you again in the new video. For now, enjoy some of the footage that we have left for you.